Hello my friends, welcome back to the kitchen at Julia Hill. I'm very happy to have you here today because we are going to be discussing some of the essential kitchen tools that you might want to consider having in your own kitchen. Years ago, I found this fantastic YouTube channel called The Fresh Princess. She doesn't make regular content anymore, but her channel is super informative and helpful when it comes to all things cooking and quality food. So go check it out if you're looking for great inspiration in the kitchen. But years ago, this particular creator made a wonderful video called Kitchen Essentials, and she talked about some of her favorite utensils and pots and pans, and I loved that video. In fact, I gleaned a lot from it and bought a couple of the pieces that she recommended. It's a great video. I recommend it if you haven't seen it yet. Today we're going to be talking about the kitchen tools that I rely upon regularly that might also be helpful for you in your kitchen. So one thing to note is I have moved many different times, and during each and every move it has forced me to pare down and consider what things are really useful. So I've had to, over the years, ask myself, is this helpful? Is this essential? And if it's not, then it's generally given away to a friend or donated. So I can honestly say that this collection I have here has been curated over the years from many moves and by asking myself the question, what is really essential in the kitchen for me? So without further ado, let's get into my favorite kitchen tools. All right, so I have a few other things that I could have added to this, but I wanted to make just a part one. And so this is where we'll start. I remember when I was a new bride, I was so confused on what things I actually needed. So if you're in that position, I hope this is a great help to you. First thing I'll mention is knives. Knives are every homemaker's best friend because you obviously need these to get cooking in the kitchen. I have 4 knives total. I don't have a knife block. I have a little thing in my drawer that I just stick the knives in. And these 4 knives are my favorite. So I have a little paring knife that I use every day for everything, and I just wash it again and again. I have a serrated knife for cutting bread. And I have a chef's knife, which I love and I have had for many years. So I have the Henkel's brand of knives. There are many different knife brands out there, but I do recommend a high quality knife that feels good in your hands. Those are definitely the top on my kitchen tool essential list. This tool I actually learned about from the Fresh Princess and I love it. Normally I like glass products in the kitchen, but this is the exception. This is a plastic beaker. It's called the Perfect Beaker, and it has all different measurements on here. It has tablespoons, teaspoons, milliliters, pints, cups, ounces. It's fantastic. It's really, really versatile in the kitchen when you're measuring different recipes from different countries. This comes in super handy. So I highly recommend this. The next thing has to do with cast iron. So I use a lot of cast iron in the kitchen. I have 3 pans back here that I keep on the stove at all times. And sometimes if they're not seasoned well enough, you will need to do some scraping. And so this cast iron scraper from Lodge is wonderful. I will sometimes also use this to scrape bread dough from my counter when it's stuck on there, especially if I've made einkorn. But mostly this is for the cast iron, and I have found it to be really helpful when a pan has cooled down and there's stuff stuck on there. I can just scrape, 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 give it a rinse, and it's good to go. So this is a great thing to have if you use cast iron. All right, the next 2 things I can't recommend highly enough are little spatulas for jam and butter and different sauces. I have a wooden one that is made of olive wood, and I have just a stainless steel one as well. And I use these every single day. I find them to be invaluable. And next is a Norwegian cheese slicer. This is one of my very favorite kitchen tools. I believe they have Swedish and Norwegian cheese slicers and they're very similar. This is the Bjorklund brand and it's high quality. It cuts soft cheeses so well, especially if you want to use cheese on sandwich and you just want those thin slices. This is a great tool for that. So I could not be without this in the kitchen. This kind of goes in the knife category, but a good set of kitchen shears is invaluable in my opinion. This is the Wusthof brand. I love having a sharp set of kitchen shears for cutting things like herbs and meat and different things that you might need to cut, but a knife isn't cutting it, for lack of a better term. A set of kitchen shears can come in really handy. I use these almost every day in my kitchen. All right, next is a bread lame. If you make bread regularly, having a bread lame on hand is super helpful. I love making pretty designs in my bread and I could not do it without a suitable bread lame. And then I go back and forth with this one. I use it all the time. Sometimes I wish it was a little more convenient. This is a citrus juicer. It's high quality and beautiful. The only downside is that all the seeds go into the juice as well. So it's not the most convenient, but I could not be without a citrus juicer in my kitchen. I love having one of these. All right, and then this is probably my holy grail of kitchen tools. I love my garlic press. One of my favorite tools. This is almost life-changing in the kitchen if you use a lot of garlic. You stick the clove inside and you press down and these nice strings of garlic come out, and it's just fabulous. Very easy cleanup as well. This is the Rossley brand. I've had mine for over 5 years now and I simply love it. All right, this again, another one of those holy grail tools that I feel like would be a good gift to buy every new bride. My grandma used to use this exact same tool. It's made in Sweden. It's the Jonas brand of vegetable peeler. It is so good. It's stainless steel through and through. It makes the job of peeling vegetables such a pleasure. So I can't recommend this particular peeler highly enough. All right. Then I have a dough scraper. This is wonderful if you regularly make bread. It's great for moving your dough around. It's great for scraping your countertops after you've made a sticky bread loaf. It's also great for cutting your loaves in half. I think this is invaluable if you regularly make bread in your home. And then of course, on that same vein, a kitchen scale. It's just one of those tools that I think if you're going to be using recipes from different countries, it's a good idea to have. As well as if you're going to be making bread that requires a kitchen scale, you don't want to be without one of these. Okay, moving on to some of the utensils. This is an item I feel like I use weekly, if not more. It's a potato masher. It's the Rossley brand. This particular brand, Rossley, it is expensive, but I can tell you over the years I have bought cheap utensils and they break. They don't last. These Rossley tools, they are high-end, but they will last you and they will perform excellently in your kitchen. So to me, I figure I'd rather just buy it once and have it last than buy 10 different brands of the same tool and have them break 10 different times. I think the Rossley brand is worth the investment. This particular tool has served me very well for a variety of things. It's a great way to mash down any sort of produce that you need to for a particular recipe. I really love having this in my kitchen. This is another tool I love having. It's a ladle with a strainer on it. I have used this when I'm making fried okra or other things I want to pull out, like of soups, if I want to take bones out. It's a great tool. This is also the Rossley brand, super high quality. Can't recommend this highly enough. All right, I know I said the garlic press and the peeler were my holy grails, but this, I honestly think if I was on a desert island and I could only take one tool with me, it would be my fish turner. I feel like a strong affinity for this tool. I quite literally use this every single day, multiple times a day. I just wash it and reuse it. It's great for turning eggs. It's great for turning pancakes. As you can see here, it has a little bend in it. There's kind of like a little lip that goes up. It just offers the perfect means of flipping an item. It is a fish turner, so it's meant to turn fish, but I have found it to be invaluable for turning a variety of things in the kitchen. I love this tool. And then just under that, actually I learned about this from the Fresh Princess as well. This is a spatula, just a basic stainless steel spatula, and it's very thin and it's bendy, and it's also good for flipping pancakes. I find myself using this if I've made a really big pancake and I need more assistance in flipping it. This is a great tool to have. And then of course, just a set of reliable kitchen tongs for so many different tasks. This also is the Rossley brand. I've had this for years and years and years, and it's reliable, performs great, and couldn't be without it in the kitchen. All right, moving on to this side. It goes without saying, I think every home cook needs a reliable set of wooden spoons. Far exceeds plastic for so many reasons. These wooden spoons are great. I do need to oil them. They're getting a little bit dry, but I love them. I use them for all sorts of things. I generally have one set aside for things like jams and then another for if I'm gonna be stirring soup or using it for meat or something. This set of 3 is great. I love having these. All right, next, I love this tool. This is a cheese grater from Rossley. Okay, again, Rossley brand. This is fantastic if you do not have a lot of cabinet space, which I don't. Typical cheese graters take up a big footprint in a cabinet. They're kind of wide and long, and this one is great because it just sits flat and you can stack it with other tools that Rossley sells. The way this works is you can stick it on the counter and grate your cheese. You can stick it over a bowl and grate your cheese, and I just love it. I have found it to be super practical. I use it at least once a week in a variety of recipes. And the next item is a mandolin also from Rossley. Same concept as the cheese grater. You can stick it on the counter and do your slicing, or over a bowl and do your slicing. I love this tool. Very, very useful in the kitchen when you want something finely sliced. Hey, it seems as though I'm saying this about every tool, but this tool. Sometimes I just want to bring it with me wherever I go. It's so handy. I learned about this little whisk over 10 years ago now from Nigella Lawson. It is the ideal whisk for eggs. I use it when I'm making quiche or any other egg-based item. Obviously, I have a traditional whisk as well, and that's an important thing to have, but this is the top of my list for whisks. Okay, and then I have a microplane. This is wonderful if you are wanting to grate citrus or Parmesan cheese. This is one that you do not want to be without. The difference, obviously, in size between a traditional cheese grater and a microplane, I mean, you can see the difference here. These are itty-bitty holes compared to this. You will not get the same effect from both. Having a microplane is just essential if you want to be making a diverse set of recipes that might call for grated citrus or grated cheese of some sort. All right, I don't use this every day, but if I'm wanting to crush up some nuts of some kind, having a kitchen mallet is a beautiful tool to have. We have used this more times than I can count. You can use it to pound meat. You can use it to crush nuts. It's very, very helpful. So I like having this with me in my kitchen. All right, and then last but not least, we have an immersion blender. I remember I first bought an immersion blender when my daughter was born, and I used it to blend up her food. And it was life-changing. I didn't have to get out my big old blender every time I wanted to make a puree of some kind. And therein started the love affair with immersion blenders. I do have a big blender and I do use it for things like smoothies and other various and sundry things. But this is wonderful. If you want to make a quick glass of chocolate milk or a puree of some kind, you can even put the top on and puree your soup if you want to. I have found the immersion blender to be simply invaluable in my kitchen and in my various cooking tasks. So that is it, my friends. These are some of my very favorite kitchen tools. I'd love to know what are some things you absolutely cannot be without in your kitchen. If you have any, please leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And as usual, friends, thank you so much for coming back to today's video, and I look forward very much to seeing you in the next one. Goodbye for now.